Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the NuChannel Sports Show. My name is Onye, the one and only. We are on Afro Vibes Radio. This is actually our second show. We do appreciate you guys joining us. I have three other co-hosts with me. What's the deal, Lo? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm good. It's good to be here with the fellas.
All right.
All right.
And standing across from him is Chris. What's up, Chris?
What's good? Let's get to it.
And to my right, he is the most hated man in America.
Loved by me,
What's
though.
up, Trey?
Loved by me.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, doing real good.
Good, man. Shout out to Laker Nation,
Boo.
Cowboy Nation,
Boo.
Brave Nation. We in that thing.
Yeah, something.
And the one and only today. Did y'all catch that? The one and only.
only.
The one and only.
Come
I love
on,
it.
man.
I love it.
I gotta change up a little bit, for everybody can hear the same thing over and over again. So let's get right into it. All right. The English Premier League is coming this Sunday. We're actually right now on while it's on. Hopefully you guys listen to us real quick and then catch it. But it's Championship Sunday.
Yeah.
Right? So right now I want to debate whether or not the Premier League is the best league in all of the world. So Chris, I want you to break it down real quick. What is the, Premier League about?
You see, I think there's a good argument that can be made. So the way the Premier League works is 20 teams. And then what's really dope is they have several tournaments that happen even within the league. Right now, Championship Sunday we already have a champion in the Premier League. It's wild, but it's one of the best final days in the Premier League history. And the reason why is, so the way it works is there's a champion. And then the first four teams the first four teams on the table, so there's 20 teams, the first four teams qualify for what's called the Champions League. And the reason why that's so important is we're talking about the English soccer league. But there's soccer leagues in other European countries. So there's a soccer league in Spain, La Liga. There's a soccer league in Italy, Serie A. There's a soccer league in France, Ligue 1. Trey, your mind you look confused. But the dope thing about that is there are leagues in all these different countries. And what happens is for the Champions League, basically the best of the best play. So you want to finish in the top four to get to the Champions League. Now this Sunday, today, there's three heavy hitters. So when I say heavy hitters, I'm talking about iconic franchises. So we're talking about Yankees, we're talking about Lakers, we're talking about the Cowboys, we're talking about the big teams. So there's three teams that are looking to get into the Champions League. So there's three spots basically left because we already have the champion, and there's really two spots left because we have the second place already. So there's three teams for two spots. Manchester United, big team. Y'all heard of Manchester?
Right,
Yes.
right.
Okay. There's another team is Chelsea, and then there's another team called Leicester City. So there's really two spots, three teams. So there's a good chance, hopefully not, that one of those big teams don't even make it to the Champions League. That's wild. But then on top of that, at the bottom of the table, they have what's called relegation. The best way I can explain relegation is think about it like this. Imagine if the worst team in the NBA, right? So let's say a team like the Orlando Magic, right? Let's say at the end of the year, one of the four worst teams, they get relegated. So you can no longer play in the NBA. You got to go play in the development league.
Do they replace those teams with other
So
teams?
they replaced them with teams that did really good in the development league. So it's called the championship.
Oh, wow.
So it's crazy. So there are certain teams. Can you imagine following the Cowboys and on a bad year they get relegated?
Don't
That would be awesome.
Don't bring that. No, don't bring that on us.
That would be
How dare
wild.
you speak that stuff? Over
And I think that's what's so amazing is in the sport, in the league, where there's already a champion in Liverpool. I hate Liverpool. If you're a Liverpool fan, I'm sorry, I can't stand y'all. But there's already a champion, but there's so much to play for today. There's just so much to play for, and I think there's an argument that could be made that it's the best league in the world because of that reason.
The best soccer league in the world?
No,
best
he's not the league in the world. No, don't look at me like that. I'm not agreeing with him. I'm just telling you what he said. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm just saying what he said. Now, for me, I look at a couple of factors when we're trying to determine what's the best league in the world. So we have the NFL, we have the NBA, we have rugby. We talked about cricket on the last show as well. So we want to talk about maybe revenue and how many fans actually follow you. But for me personally, I'm just talking about entertainment-wise. And we're talking about the biggest stage, too, right? We're talking about the Super Bowl, we're talking about the finals, we're talking about the Champion League. Like, how many fans does that draw? So for you guys, man, what does it mean to actually be the best league in the world?
It's an interesting question because when you talk about prestige, it could be talked about in so many different ways. And just like you said, is it revenue or is it fan base? I mean, there's an argument, or it's a championship. There's an argument that can be made for every single league, right? For instance, you've got the Montreal Canadiens. They've got 23 championships in the NHL. All right, in the NFL, you've got the Green Bay Packers. They've got 13 championships, right? The Boston Celtics, you got 17 championships, right? Let's take it to football, or soccer, right? You've got Real Madrid, right? They've got 13 championships in the Champions League, right?
Yeah.
So they're up there when you talk about prestige, right? Or is it revenue, right? Now you can talk about the NFL, right? Now you've got they bring in the most revenue. They're number one.
They
in
sure
revenue,
do. They sure
right?
do.
With $13 billion, right? But guess who's the number one franchise in the NFL?
Texans?
No. In revenue, my Dallas Cowboys at $5.4 billion. That's the number one team in terms of revenue. So we can talk about prestige in so many different ways. But I think when you talk about appeal and revenue, it probably goes to the Champions League just because soccer's got so much appeal, right? At every corner of the world, everyone knows Neymar. Everybody knows Messi. Everybody knows Cristiano Ronaldo, right? I don't think everyone knows Tom Brady. I don't think everyone knows some of the top, NHL players right now. So it probably goes to the Champions
So
League.
you're saying the Champions League as a whole,
As a whole.
So you're not just saying Premier League. You're saying the Champions League.
I'm saying the
I got
Champions
you.
League.
Fellas,
Uh-oh.
with all due respect, I think y'all have lost y'all's damn minds. I understand exactly what you're talking about, and according to Forbes magazine, you all know who the number one valued franchise is in all of sports,
Oh, it's the Dallas Cowboys.
and it's not close.
Yeah.
So to be fair, if you wanted to go by revenue and things like that, it's estimated in Forbes magazine about a year ago when this last came out, the Dallas Cowboys value was at about $5 billion with a B. In that top 10, there were 3 NFL franchises, 3 NBA franchises, 3 soccer organizations, for lack of a franchise, and 1 MLB team. And number 3 and number 4 were occupied by 2 soccer organizations, Barcelona and Real Madrid. So it's hard to say revenue, what that would bring. If you went to the top 50, you'd find more American sports. But as far as the best league, there is one best league in the world when we talk about football, and that's the National Football League. Football is great. I know it's played by more people, but it just doesn't compare. It just doesn't compare.
You see, the argument I would make is take a team like the Lions. If you're a Detroit Lions fan, I'm sorry, because basically every year by week 8, for most years you're done. Your season is done. There's nothing left to watch. You're just watching either Tom Brady come to town, or you may have a Patrick Mahomes come to town. That's dope. But as far as rooting for your team, you're rooting for from them to get maybe 4 wins. So by the time it gets to week 13, week 14, 15, and so on, there's not much to root for. But if you knew your team could get relegated, like in the Premier League, all of a sudden when the Lions play the Cardinals, and most years it's not a great game, that game means everything because you're both bad teams, and one of those bad teams has got to win. And you don't want to be part of the fan base of the team that loses. To me, that's just a level of sports that you can't even comprehend. So imagine your team gets relegated. You're out of the league. And the next year you come back. Can you imagine the euphoria? That's wow.
Okay, so without poo-pooing on what happens in football, I just like saying that. Football. Sounds crazy to me. But, like, you got the 2 teams that I mentioned, Real Madrid, you got Barcelona, and Manchester United ranked at about 6. Yeah. After that, it's a drastic drop-off, right? And I know that across the world, I should say, there's more interest in that than we are here in Americans. Us stupid Americans like what us stupid Americans like, right? Yeah. And it's, the top 4 sports. When I say top 4 sports, I mean NFL, NBA, MLB, and I mean probably in hockey would probably be our top 4. But is there as much parity in soccer as it is in the NFL or NBA?
You're talking about the English Premier League.
In the English Premier League. Like, is there as much parity in there? Like, some of the names that I hear, it feels like I hear these names all the time because after those top 3 franchises that I mentioned in Forbes ranking, Bayern Munich was number 17, but after that, I mean, you got to go all the way down to number 25 where it's wrapped up with Manchester City. It's like the same teams over and over and over and over
And that's
again.
the thing. So when you ask about parity, so you have like Real Madrid and Barcelona and Bayern. Those are teams that play in different countries. So that's not the Premier League. The Premier League, comparing as far as the parity, it's actually pretty close, to be honest with you. There's certain years where teams run away with it, but that's like any sport. There's certain years where the Yankees may run away with it, where the Patriots, for a lot of years, will just run away with it, and that's fine. That actually makes the sport even more popular, because when you have at least 5 or 6 popular teams that are good and are hard to beat, when you're that little guy and you go against them, it makes the game more interesting. Right? This is just real talk. In the NFL, how many teams can win the Super Bowl in a given year? Seriously. We may have about 5 or 6 franchises that have a legit shot, and everybody else is like, you're fringe. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but if you're a sports fan with a pulse, you've heard of Manchester City before, right? Is that safe to say? Like,
yeah.
If you're a sport, whether you're casually watching ESPN or whatever, let's just say somebody as popular as they are, the Dallas Cowboys are worth 2 times the amount of what Manchester City is worth.
Yeah.
So when you come to talk about like parity or revenue, or if this sport was so popular, how are the Golden State Warriors, who were just recently come onto the scene as a decent franchise, how are teams like the Chicago Cubs, the 49ers, or even the team in Washington, the Washington football team, how are they worth more than these quote-unquote best soccer teams in the world?
You know why?
That are followed by people all across the world.
You know why?
Why?
It's because of TV contracts. The NFL brings in most of that revenue. Over half of it comes from TV contracts. And because so many Americans watch football, and because we have such a high viewership, all these companies are investing so much money in these sponsorships. That's why we're getting so much money. So if you look at the numbers, I mean, not as many people, I guess, are watching it on TV. I guess a lot of other people in other countries aren't privileged to be watching, to have it on television as much, or these countries aren't investing as much. But with the NFL, a lot of, and plus you've got share revenue as well. Right, so that's why a lot of these teams. Now, besides the Dallas Cowboys, obviously, we've kind of do our own thing, because a lot of our revenue, comes from Dallas. It comes from us.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. But a lot of that is media and it's TV contracts. That's a lot of why NFL is up where it is.
That's a great point. And the reason why it's such a good point is when you watch football, it's kind of annoying though when we watch the NFL on Sunday. How many commercials do we have to put up with? Seriously though.
15 minutes of commercials.
It's about maybe even more. With soccer, they don't have that luxury because you gotta play 45 straight minutes.
Because you might miss the only goal in the whole game. Like it's possible that they may not score for the next 2 weeks, so you gotta watch it while you can.
Right. So we're talking about a whole bunch of different factors here, as we're trying to really consider what might be the best league in the whole wide world. We're talking about revenue. We're talking about followings as far as fans. We're talking about a whole bunch of different things from the competitive nature of each sport as well. So when I put all those things into factor, and we're talking about which one has the best finishing event. Now, when we talk about that, and we're talking about the NFL and the Super Bowl, that's a spectacle within its own self. People from all over the country watch the Super Bowl. And so when I take that into the factor and everything else, the English Premier League is great. I'm starting to get into a little bit more, and I'm starting to learn more about it. But as far as the best league in the world, and I know it's only played here in the States, but the States have such, draw to it that this makes it the most popular league to me. The NFL is the most popular league in the world.
When this question was posed, I really thought somebody was going to mention the NBA. Is it just not something you guys consider at all? Because it's so global.
As far as a league, go ahead.
No, I think you're right. I think shout out to Daryl Morey and the Houston Rockets for ruining what some of the NBA prestige overseas is gotten into. But the NBA, in my opinion, is probably just as big, if not bigger. I mean, you're talking about iconic people like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and LeBron James, where these people, Yao Ming, like they were able to build this beyond measure. I don't understand. I still don't know why football is king here in the United States, but I think it's because it comes on once a week for 17 weeks, and it's not something that oversaturates what we do. Yeah. When soccer matches come here, I mean, they sell out pretty quickly, right? Like they sell out large stadiums, but it's not something that comes out 82 times. You're playing 16 football games. That's it. Yeah. And 3 playoff games, 4 playoff games max if your team is lucky. So the Lakers, for instance, have 16 NBA championships, and they're ranked number 7 or 8 in the top franchises. The Cowboys almost worth $2 million more than them, and the Cowboys haven't won nearly as many championships as the Lakers. So football is keen. And I think you get a larger gathering, you get larger followings. But the NBA should be recognized, and I would take the NBA over the Premier League. In fact, I would take the LPGA over the English Premier League, or the NWSL, NWPL.
Trey's going in.
Something's wrong with
Trey's
you, bro.
going in, man.
I mean,
But I want to touch on something you said earlier about the NBA, though. I can't believe you right now. As far as the NBA is concerned, it's kind of the same thing with the English Premier League. I think it's more popular as far as individuals are concerned. LeBron sells by himself. Kevin Durant sells by himself. I think that's where it draws more. Teams, not so much. Even though the Lakers are a historic franchise, Boston historic franchises as well, but the NFL, it sells teams more than anything.
But think about it like this, right? What other sport? It's the only sport. All of those players, their heads are covered. So you really don't know unless you're an avid football fan, you don't know who you're watching, right?
Yeah.
All their heads are covered. So they're able to maintain and get up there in revenue, but those players, their heads are covered, right? Whereas the NBA and everyone else, you're able to see everyone's faces.
Right.
So the fact that the NFL can be spoken of in high esteem, right? And having those kind of circumstances is pretty amazing.
All right, so that was our first half here on Afro Vibes Radio. We'll be back in 1 second. This is Onye.
Attention, the noise coming from your radio is not a mistake. It's from Afro Vibes Radio Station, bringing the best of Afrobeat sound and programs to you. Listen to Afro Vibes Radio, or we'll move into your neighborhood. You have been warned. Don't touch that dial. Afro Vibes Radio, the #1 online radio station on the net, reaching over 177 countries around the world.
Welcome back to NuChannel Sports Show. This is the second half of our show. We're on Afro Vibes Radio. I'm your host. My name is Onye. I'm joined by Lo, Chris, and Trey. We're going to talk about the NBA restarting and the scrimmage games going on right now. What do you guys think about what you've seen? There's no fans there, of course. I thought I wasn't going to be bothered by it. I was at first, but now I'm like cool with them seeing basketball players play. We got LeBron, AD, Harden, everybody out there playing. I'm really enjoying myself. Don't do that.
Shout out, Jimmy.
Don't do that. How you guys feel about the NBA restarting and the scrimmage games right now?
Have y'all seen Bol?
He is a sensation right now. Everybody's talking about how
My
good he is.
daughter and my son went online and bought Bol jerseys.
Wow.
My daughter, she's 19, but went online and bought Bol stuff. Like legit.
You think he's legit?
16, 10, and 6. Even though it was those NBA, let's get this straight. They're scrimmages, but the NBA players are not playing like these are scrimmages.
Yeah,
like, bro, I've never seen them play preseason games as hard. Like they are going balls to the wall trying to play. And I think legit, that lineup where there was no one under 6'7" starting lineup with Nikola Jokic at the point guard.
Yeah.
That's the alternative to small ball. What do you do? If you brought that against the Rockets, it's going to be the highest scoring game ever.
In 40 minutes, they had 25 turnovers.
Correct.
So it's not something they could do consistently.
It's not sustainable.
But to watch him block a shot,
Yeah. And get down the court.
get down the court, stop and pop on a three.
Yeah.
Come on now.
7 feet tall.
That's Kevin Durant. He's bigger than Kevin Durant. That's ridiculous.
Speaking of threes, Ben Simmons hit a three. Y'all see that?
Oh, I did.
I did not see that.
I don't know what's going to happen, bro.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons hit a damn three.
And it looked good. It wasn't
I'll
random.
be the judge of that. But I know he started at power forward, which was different. I like the fact that these coaches are doing some things different. I wasn't very excited about what it was gonna look like, but I think the NBA with the display and them not wasting time with a bunch of the gibberish that we would see at a normal NBA game, I thought that was cool. The only thing I really can't get used to is all the squeaking. Like, did we hear that before?
No.
Like it was,
It's drowned out by
it was drowned out by everything else, right? I'm
yeah.
just like, and the other thing that I really don't like is I don't like the announcers not being there. I just really don't. Like, it's kind of like that players only thing, like doing it from the studio and stuff like that. It's just something about hearing that crowd noise or hearing their initial reaction or what they see happening on the floor. They can't see that from the studio in Los Angeles or I don't like.
Is that the way it's going to be, like, for the time being?
For the majority of the people, I think only a few teams or a few groups of announcers were invited to be there.
I think when it gets to the finals, they'll be there. But honestly, I didn't know it until they told me. If they didn't tell me, my mind wouldn't be focused on it. Because it happens more in sports than you think.
Yeah,
a lot of times it happens, we don't even know the announcers are not even there.
Yeah, it just takes you back to playing 5-on-5 on the street, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, so we've got a couple of teams in there. You want to say something?
No.
Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off, man. You know you're a Cowboy fan. But we have a couple of teams there, and we talked about this on previous shows. I want to go over like who is the most overrated team going into this, and maybe the most underrated team going into this as well.
Oh.
I already know where your answer.
Let me
go
just
ahead.
start.
Go
Let me
ahead.
start.
Go
You're
ahead.
wrong. You're wrong.
Did you see Carmelo come out talking about I'm taking the gloves off? Bro, who cares? The Blazers, all they do is the Blazers, by the way, if you didn't know. All they do is they talk.
Oh,
That's
so
it.
they're your most underrated team.
Overrated.
Oh, okay.
Way overrated. Number one, this is why they're overrated. They got to make the playoffs. Oh, no, my bad. They got to get in the playoff to make the playoff. And then after that, they play the Lakers. So where are they going? When Carmelo says he's taking the gloves off, bro, when have you ever had it on? Well, like, when have you ever fought? All he does is he shoots his. He's a good player. I'm not trying to knock him. But
He didn't hit a run years ago. Remember that?
That is, you need to stop. You really need to stop poo-pooing on what the Blazers are doing.
So you're saying they're going to beat you?
I didn't say they're going to beat the Lakers, but I'm scared of them. I'm scared of them. I really am.
Well, since you mentioned a team that's overrated, I'll mention a team that's underrated, and we did allude to a player on that team earlier with Ben Simmons. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons in that team, they were a couple of bounces away. Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't do that when you talk.
Falling asleep
I don't do
over
that when
here.
you talk. They were a couple of bounces away from making it to the finals last year, and nobody is talking about them. I mean, nobody. And the way the situation is right now, you alluded to it on the show a couple of weeks ago, there's no fans. Their biggest problem was playing on the road.
And they're on the road. They're not in Philadelphia. They're on the road.
Well, they're on even playing field now with everybody else. So I think that's an advantage for Philadelphia right now. You don't think so?
No.
Why are you doing
They
that?
are terrible. They've proven nothing. I think they're a couple of years away and a player or two away, in my opinion. I think one of the things that they should not have done, that team should not have let somebody like JJ Redick get away. I'm being honest.
Who's going to contest with them in the Eastern Conference?
If they look better than what they did this week,
They didn't look
the
good either.
The Celtics
The
didn't look very
Celtics look
good. They
good.
did not.
The
They
Bucks,
look
the
good.
Bucks, they
How do the
still
Raptors look? Who do the Raptors play?
Well, the Raptors are.
Who do they play?
The Raptors are going to be that team.
But who did they beat? Who did the Raptors beat?
Last year?
No.
But they had a person though.
No,
on that
who did they
team.
beat yesterday?
Oh, I didn't see who they beat yesterday. Who
Oh,
did they say?
Who did the Rockets play yesterday?
You always got a poo-poo on the Rockets.
Who the
beat down
Rockets
here.
play?
Oh my goodness.
Let's talk about overrated.
Oh, the Rockets are overrated. now.
Overrated.
Wow.
Wait, you're saying overrated based on...
I was scared of them.
And why are you not afraid anymore?
I'm not afraid of them because I think that Houston, even though my season ticket value would go up if they won, right? So I'm hoping that they prove me wrong, but I'm calling Jimmy and his crew out. Like, they need to come out and ball. They're turning the ball over way too, and I know it's just a scrimmage game,
Right,
but
right.
they don't. We're playing basketball in just a few days. 4 days from today, when this show airs, 4 days from now, we're playing basketball. And they're turning the ball over way too much, and that was a problem from the beginning. And that is not going to work right now.
But there's a couple of things to that. Watching that game yesterday, I don't want to go too much into one game, but it's a scrimmage. But in the first half, the Rockets are about to blow them out. It was about to be a wrap. You can tell, like, okay, we're going to hold the brakes back a little bit. And we know the Rockets have things in store that they're not showing yet. And that's possibly every team. But to say the Rockets are not one of those teams that could win, like, and you say the Blazers are? I just don't
I didn't say the
understand.
Blazers could win. I just said the Blazers will get into the playoffs and they're going to be very dangerous.
Okay, so give me your overrated team. Who's overrated?
My overrated team would change as of right now because of what's happened with a lot of the players. And if those players don't get back into this bubble by tomorrow, the Clippers could find themselves in trouble. They're only a game and a half in front of the Rockets, if I'm not mistaken. They still wind up playing them in the second round anyway. But Lou Williams left the bubble. Beverly's gone out of the bubble. Montrezl Harrell's gone out of the bubble. And if you got to come back, Zion came back, right? But once you come back into the bubble, you got to wait 4 days. So they played the Lakers on Thursday night. So if they don't get back to the bubble tomorrow, and Lou Williams just left yesterday, if those three players don't get back, I know it's early and I know it's just still the regular season, but I don't think the Clippers can afford that. And then I know it's a neutral court, but I just don't think they could. I don't think they can afford that.
So you think they're overrated right now?
Matchup problems, yeah. Without the team that they have, saying that they're one of the top 2 or 3 teams, I don't think that's the case. Even with PG and Leonard.
I don't necessarily have an overrated team, but the Lakers concern me a lot. One, I'm not too worried about their age, but I don't think they have a lot of reliable depth, right? You got Dion Waiters is just alive. I don't know how much he's going to contribute.
Went off.
Right? Well, that's good. And hopefully he can maintain it consistent. Now, J.R. Smith is prone to boneheaded mistakes, so you never know when that's going to rear his head. But you don't know what he's going to contribute. But when that man is on, he's on. You need Kyle Kuzma to do something. This guy's threes is not it's not falling in. He needs to do something to help their team out.
Yesterday, he started off 5 for 5. He just turned 25. Happy birthday, Kyle Kuzma. Started off 5 for 5 for 3-pointers. Hit 6 threes in the game. So, I mean, I think, and they mentioned with Anthony Davis out, he has to be that number
Absolutely.
2. But I mean, Dion Waiters, and I'm not saying just because I'm a Lakers fan, but when Dion Waiters, when they took LeBron, Anthony Davis was already out of the game, but when they had LeBron off the court, Kuzma, Dwight Howard, Dion Waiters, J.R. Smith, and I want to say Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was the next 5 they have on the court.
Yeah.
That is more depth than the Lakers have ever had. Now, I shouldn't say ever, but in their 6-year drought,
If they can maintain that, because what I'm worried about is LeBron having to play all the
yeah, absolutely. It's going to be trouble for them, and I'm nervous about that.
I like Lowe's point with the Lakers. I didn't even think about it. If you think about it, they have JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, J.R. Smith, Dion Waiters. These are all guys I don't trust them.
Yeah,
Do y'all trust them?
Yeah,
I don't.
Dion Waiters, he goes off for a couple of games, but then he kind of just.
He's a guy that fell asleep on a
He
team
didn't have to
playing.
be, but he
He's a
didn't have to be the
shroom.
man.
That's true.
He didn't have to be the man anymore. JaVale McGee's a champion. J.R. Smith's a champion. JaVale McGee, Markieff Morris. It's one of the Morris twins.
one of them.
Yeah, he's on the team. I think
I trust him.
they have more depth than what they finally got that, but they haven't played together.
They haven't played together.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So
That's all the teams, though. All the teams from the games I've watched, there is some rust there. They're trying to get accommodated.
it's going to be interesting, though. I can't wait. I'm more excited about it now than I was this time of week.
Oh yeah, I'm
Much
definitely
more
excited
excited.
about it. I cannot wait, and I do like the format. I do like the big, screen in the background. At first, no crowd noise was kind of bothering me a little bit, but I forgot all about it going halfway into the game. And the squeaking noise. Who's you alluded to the squeaking noise?
You didn't hear it?
I did, but I didn't have a problem with it. When you play, me and Chris play basketball sometimes, and you hear squeaking noise, it just made it feel a lot more authentic to me than anything.
I ain't gonna lie to you, I cannot stand that squeaky noise. Okay, it reminds me, y'all remember the 2010 World Cup in South Africa when they had those vuvuzelas?
Yeah.
It was just going on. I can't stand it because it takes away from the game. So when I heard it, I was thinking, can I pause this? Is there a drown out button? Is there something I can push to get rid of this? I couldn't stand the squeaky.
So if you guys do not like there being no commentators, then maybe we can go ahead and commentate the games for 4 people. if you want us to, we can do that.
Yeah, so they have 3 TV studios, so 3 TV arenas, if you will. So those stadiums will have nationally televised games, and those people will be there. And the commentators aren't even on the court; they're like elevated, kind of like they are at Duke or at Madison. At what do you call it? Boston Garden, T Garden, whatever it's TD Garden, TD Center. Anyway, so they will have some games that have that on there, but a lot of them are just people that do it remotely. So it's probably better for them and their families and everything else. But it's just something about that, man. Like, it's just being there on the floor, interviewing these coaches at halftime and stuff like that. Like, I miss that. I miss Popovich being a jerk, right? And even though I'm not a huge fan, I love seeing him, do his thing. But I think we're in for a treat. This will be, in my opinion, because the NBA has done such a great job compared to other sports. I think we're in for a treat, and it won't be as hideous as some of us thought it was going to be.
And shout out to the NBA for being ahead of the curve. Everyone else has been sleeping, and they've put in all the work to deliver shows and give us live basketball. Shout out to the NBA.
I know before the scrimmage game started, there was a question of whether or not they can complete the season. Do you guys have any question now after seeing what you've seen, whether or not they can complete the season or not?
I'm getting scared because it seems every single day on ESPN, breaking news, family emergency, somebody's leaving the bubble.
We talked about that.
And I don't know, you hate to question, these are grown men, but what are these family emergencies? Is it somebody in your family has been in contact with COVID? Does somebody have COVID? I'm not asking for that information, but if people are leaving this often, we may not finish.
I think we have to finish, but I think you and I, or we've all talked about this on the show, where they are going to, if that's the excuse to get out of the bubble, that excuse has already been out there.
Exactly.
And they've already set that precedent. So if anybody has a quote-unquote family emergency, that's what they're going to say. They're going to get out of the bubble, come back and wait their 4 days and go on about their business. I just hope that it truly is that. God bless them, because I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Yeah. But I think they really need to curtail that. But I don't think there's no way basketball's too invested into this to not let this finish. They will finish this one way or the other.
Yeah. I will say the one thing they have over other sports is they're almost done. So in a good month, half the teams are going to be leaving the bubble anyway. So if you have an issue when there's only 2 teams left, you got to look yourself in the mirror and be like, bruh, are you trying to win or are you not trying to win? So that's the one thing that basketball has for itself that, for the most part, it's going to whittle down.
Yeah, and it's sacrifices. Like, I forget what player it was, but I think it was Lakers player, matter of fact. He missed his sister's wedding because he was
Caruso.
Yeah. He didn't go to his sister's wedding.
Man, Caruso, you should have went to that wedding plan.
Did he play?
Yeah, he's been balling. He's gonna have to start. He's gonna have to play a lot of minutes with Rondo though.
Yeah, but that's the kind of commitment that, I mean, that's the kind of sacrifice that these guys need to make for the next couple of months.
Yeah, as the teams start to dwindle down and there's less and less teams, I think there'll be less and less problems. And you know, you're gonna have star players being like, "We're in this together. We're gonna play." LeBron's gonna sit you down and be like, "You're not going anywhere. We're trying to win the championship."
Man, I've seen people come off the court, and today I see it more than I've ever seen it in years past or even in months past. But when you see teams like the Lakers, like welcoming new people to their team, like Andre Roberson came back for the Thunder.
He hasn't played basketball.
He hasn't played in 2 years,
Yeah.
right? And so, but to see Chris Paul, who's never played with him before, so excited for him to make a basket, like these players have come together. I get the chills just thinking about it. They've come together more than I've ever seen. I'm talking about people giving each other high fives and like they've already got handshakes, and I know that's just part of the NBA culture. But to see them come the way that they are together, I think this threatens super teams. I think this threatens NBA free agency more than anything ever in the past, because this bubble, these players have no other choice. They're playing video games, they're going fishing, they're doing things that brothers do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
And so I think with them being able to do that, that puts them at a different level, and they're building connections with people that where someone may have thought about leaving before. I remember when we were in the bubble and we did this, and you had my back, and I was able to talk to you about different stuff. Like, I think that's going to be a bigger threat to free agency than we've ever seen. in the
So
past.
do you think this is going to prevent more players from moving on to other teams?
I think so.
Or
I really
prevent
do.
super teams from forming?
I think it will prevent super teams from forming, because I think people are growing closer to the people that they're pretty much entangled with.
You just had to put that in there somehow,
You can't
man.
make it 30 minutes.
You know, it's so funny. I think that point is a well-taken point. I think it's a good point. I see it going the other way, but what I do like is, you know, when you hit a three-pointer in the NBA, Samantha hits a corner three, and the crowd goes crazy. Sometimes the bench goes crazy. Now the bench almost has to go crazy, and you're talking about just hyping yourselves up. And I think the teams that are able to do that will be able to help themselves make runs in crucial games.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting on the bench, you're not moving, that's a problem.
Right, and I like where you're going with that. It made me think that, like, if it doesn't help with like the super teams, what I think it will help with is those fringe players, the 6, 7 players off the bench who don't get as much playing time, who maybe feel like they're outsiders. If they see another team like, damn, my team isn't like that, or dang, LeBron is a better leader than I thought. Like those players, maybe not a superstar, but some of those role players that could go and make a difference for some of these other teams, will be like, man, I'm out. Like, I'll go and I'll even take less money to be a part of that. Because kind of like with Jamal Adams and what he's been saying about Adam Gase, everybody else, like, you don't want someone like that on your team. And if there's NBA players feeling like that, I think they make the choice to move around, but I don't think they'll be the superstar.
There's two players I think are going to stand out because of this. One, they're both Rockets. Russell Westbrook's effort is going to shoot off the screen. As much as I love James Harden, if he goes into a funk during the playoffs, but he's shooting those deep threes, you're going to hear an audible groan from the team.
Oh, yeah.
And that may help him, honestly.
That's true. Because, man, I was watching a clip earlier. You're going to learn a lot of new things. I was watching LeBron shoot free throws. He actually counts down before he makes free throws. And they'll kind of explain it. So you're going to learn a lot of
Never heard that until he did it on the mic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without the fans, without all the other stuff, all the extra noise, you're going to get to hear these players. It's like, just like you said, it'll be the moans, the groans, the cheers, and the falls.
All right, man. Good stuff, guys. Really good stuff, man. This has been NuChannel Sports Show on Afro Vibes Radio. I have been your host, the one and only O.N.E. I was joined here today by Lo, Chris, and Trey. Until next time.